We are totally ready for this.
Okay.
Welcome, everyone. This is kind of a surprise recording of the second episode of our show, Absolute Zero. I'm Bertrand Leroy.
I'm Rachel Appel.
And today we are talking about flat Earth. Really?
Yes,
Do we have to?
we have to.
Apparently
Why
we
though?
do. Ah,
Because it's 2016 and there's actually people who believe that it's flat Earth and that the
for
spheroid Earth is a conspiracy.
so how long have we known that this is not true?
A long time.
Thousands of years?
Yeah, actually, back in ancient times, there were people who proposed that the Earth was round
Oh, even measured it.
and even measured it. So there were.
It's pretty good.
believe both
It's pretty good
things.
accuracy
Yeah.
at that.
So it's not a new thing.
Okay, so what are the arguments?
For flat Earth?
Yeah.
Mostly I'm hearing conspiracy is a big one. Somebody actually said, I mean, other than the conspiracy, but I think we talked about conspiracies before. That just doesn't work. But also somebody actually proposed, just random internet flat earther, that if you go look out on the horizon, it's flat.
Mhm.
First of all, if you go to the ocean and look out on the horizon, it's not actually
And-
flat.
Yeah, and people a long time ago noticed that when the view is clear and boats go far enough that you can steer them, but
Tiniest
you know-
little curvature.
yeah, they start disappearing from the bottom.
Yeah.
So first you don't see the bottom of the boat, and then the mast is the last to disappear.
Right. It doesn't just go and it's gone.
So that's a good clue that something's going on there. And so that argument, in any case, is, I mean, it only seems reasonable until you start looking at it. And if you were on a sphere, let's imagine you're on a sphere.
Right.
Wherever you look, you will see the horizon at the same distance, right?
Yeah.
And when you turn around, you will see it at the same angle. So part of the misunderstanding from those guys, and also from people who debate them based on wrong arguments, our vision is heavily massaged by the brain, to reconcile what the signals that our eyes are getting with a reconstructed reality. And wide-angle stuff is notoriously difficult to reconcile with our internal model because it really has to deal with angles at which we see things. And when you look at the horizon, no matter where you look, because the sphere is symmetrical, or whether you're on a plane or on a sphere, you're going to see the horizon at the same at a constant angle, no matter where you look. So that is an argument that has nothing to do with the problem, and that won't help you decide for one hypothesis or the other, right? Now, the boats disappearing behind the horizon, you have to explain that. A second thing that is really mind-bogglingly stupid is that, okay, so how far is the sun, how far is the moon in that model?
Right. Where exactly, yeah. What's going on out there? Well, at that point, if we're the flat Earth, we might as well be orbiting, or something might as well be orbiting us, right? The sun.
Yeah, so
Why not?
it's really hard to reconcile what those guys have in mind about what the moon or the sun are, what size they are, what distance they are, with what you observe when you travel.
Right.
Another observation is that the constellations in the southern hemisphere are completely different. So how does that work?
So, yeah, one of my questions is, have these people ever been on an airplane before? Like,
Well,
do they know how that works? Do they know how satellites work? Those things actually orbit a round Earth.
Yeah, but they're part of the conspiracy, aren't they?
Oh, right. I forgot.
No, but so I want to write a little program that takes, those maps that plane companies have, showing their routes around the world.
The moving
Yeah.
maps, yeah.
So I want to write a program that takes one of those images and try to straighten the passes and figures out what shape that surface must be for those trajectories to be efficient. See what I mean?
Interesting.
And I'm suspecting that I'm going to obtain a sphere. It's interesting how the trajectories have to be curved this way on the northern hemisphere and this way on the southern hemisphere, and those routes that
are in on it too.
Those routes that go from one hemisphere to the other actually change curvature as they cross the equator. That should tell you something.
They're in on it too. They're really just flying in a straight line, and they just put it like that on the map.
Yeah, and
obviously maps are flat, therefore the Earth must be too.
Yeah, that's pretty much the bottom of it. Yeah, so I suppose people who make those maps are part of the conspiracy as well. That's a lot of people, and yeah.
The government.
I mean, yeah, I think.
And all those university professors.
Yeah. Well, all those people, yeah, and apparently the NASA.
Yeah,
is the main member of that conspiracy with all their photos of the.
This conspiracy is so massive that even like Russia's in on it, and China, and everybody, like the whole world is in on this.
Yeah, we should capitalize on that and see
what else we fight about and go to war about. The whole rest of the world is in on this one.
Think about how much we could achieve if we could.
If we could apply this to other endeavors. So,
okay, so what else do we have?
Our world. See, it's nice and blue, covered in oceans. See,
yeah.
That's our world.
Yeah, another thing I want to know is.
They even have a turtle. It sits on a turtle.
Oh yeah, thank you. Where are the elephants?
It sits on a turtle.
Where are the elephants?
Oh, that's right. I don't have any little elephants because I go to the Caribbean more, and then I get little turtles.
Yeah, another thing is, so is that plane infinite or is it really a disk?
Well, mine's square because it's a Post-it note.
Yeah, yours is square. So how does it work when you walk closer to the border? You have to be slanted so that because of the gravity coming from. How does it work? Where does the gravity must always point down. It must just be universally pointing down.
Right, that's the thing. They literally get to the edge and can't explain what happens there, other than saying like aliens or something like that. So, I mean, the justifications get ridiculous for why people believe in this.
Yeah, so I don't think we need.
If they're normally just, making a mistake in science, I wouldn't be so prone to mock people. But this is just kind of ridiculous. It's just so smashed.
Yeah, it's so silly that it deserves some mockery.
Yeah, in this case.
Yeah. So, we have some comments.
Already?
Yeah.
The Earth is flat, damn it. I like the post.
You don't
model of the Earth.
You don't want to read the comments, okay?
I hear the comment section is running for president right now.
Oh shit! Oh shit! Okay, so I ignore the comments for now.
Oh boy. Must be a good one.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it begins. It only begins. We have to brace ourselves for the comments we have on this. Yeah, so I don't think it's necessary to beat a dead horse too much. I think what's more interesting is trying to understand why such things are appealing to anybody,
right,
in this day and age.
That's a good point.
Because sure, I mean it's super easy to first, it's super easy to counter those silly arguments, and but you know that they are going to come up with some counter arguments that are going to be equally silly, and it's just a waste of time. It's big waste of time. But why is it appealing to anybody?
I think there's a sense of counterculture about it, right? Anti-establishment in a way, because what's more establishment than things like the theory of gravity or heliocentrism or the Earth being round, any of that, pretty solid stuff that's out there. And you always have a little bit of fringe element that swims upstream. That's appealing to a small demographic. Because it's not a whole lot of people out there, fortunately, that believe this.
Okay, so what benefit can one get from that? Just being original?
It's a benefit so much as it's just kind of part of the identity if you're, someone who is like that.
You mean it's a way to...
it's just one quality. I'm sure there's more. Yeah. There's never just one reason. People tend to not do more than scratch the surface. They're presented with something that sounds like a fact or, kind of seems legit on the surface. And then they don't scratch very much after it. And then this is what you get. You get some bad logic, because it is a lot easier to do shortcuts in logic than it is to think it out. And especially if that combines with other motives, those kind of things might combine together.
So I had an interesting discussion the other day about whether anybody would claim, so the argument from that other person, whom you know, was that nobody actually claims to be anti-science. And I don't think that is true, but
okay.
I don't think that it's entirely true, but there is some truth to it in that even if you look at Ken Ham, that guy actually claims that he's the one doing the real science, and that all the establishment scientists are actually the ones doing junk science.
Right.
So I think that's interesting. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, that's true too. A lot of people think that they're doing the science properly. That happens with more endeavors than just science, though, right? Everybody thinks they're doing whatever it is properly.
Right, but science is kind of different in that it has that...
There's rigors to it that there's not to other endeavors.
Well, built into science is the idea that of autocorrection and the confrontation with reality, and it's designed from the ground up. Science is nothing if it's not something that finds truth against bias, right? It's designed to remove our human tendency to see things where there is nothing. So people who claim that they are doing science whereas they are evidently not don't understand science.
Right.
Plain and simple.
The irony there.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
It's very true, though. And it's also the extra irony on top of that is that just kind of supports the Dunning-Kruger effect, where their thesis is that you may be incompetent, and when you are, you're unaware. That was the title of their paper, Incompetent and Unaware. Like the most favorite title ever of mine of a scientific paper.
What was the title?
Incompetent and Unaware.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the more incompetent you are about something, the more unaware that you are about not only how it works, because you're incompetent, but also your incompetency about that. So, kind of...
yeah, but I was reading a post the other day that was making the argument, and I think that was correct, that we tend to believe that the Dunning-Kruger effect only applies to dumb people.
Or other people, yeah.
It applies to everyone, including us, of course.
Yeah, it's just what topic it is that you're incompetent and unaware about.
Yeah, therefore, nothing is true, and my opinion is as good as yours.
Right.
Checkmate.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm glancing at the comments while we're talking.
Okay.
And there you go. I think we have some Bible versus science arguments. Okay. Okay, well, the comment thread is still as
Oh my
interesting
God,
as it was
stay away from
last I looked. So yeah, we are gonna let those guys debate. Okay. Do you want to beat that dead horse a little bit more?
the flat Earth dead horse.
Yeah.
Flatten it out even more.
Mm. Oh, to flatten it even more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't
well.
know. It's, I almost, the words lost cause almost come to mind when you think about this. It's almost like, somebody, if they were a gravity denier or something like that. You almost want to just drag them in for a mental evaluation at that point.
Okay, so
God.
when I was working in science, I was working in a lab that was doing mostly general relativity. So most of the people there were, doing cosmology and stuff like that. And when you work in such a lab, you get a lot of email from cranks.
Oh, I can imagine what's coming. Oh, this is gonna be good.
And so you get to know all the funny. I wouldn't dignify it with the word theory. The funny ideas that people have about gravitation.
Okay.
And there are some really interesting ideas, actually. Some are pretty clever, and when you read that, you just go, "Oh, that's actually pretty clever." Of course, it doesn't work, and it takes about 2 seconds to understand why it doesn't work, but
it's still very clever.
+1 for effort. I mean, yeah. And that is the first time you read each one of those. And then you see them coming back, the same arguments. And now you take them very differently. It's, oh, no, not that thing about shadows. No, gravitation is not shadows. That's not how it works. And I've already explained to your friend over there why.
Like they congregate together in PACT or something. They have user groups where they go and discuss how gravity.
Yeah, and I think part of the issue here is that a lot in modern science is actually pretty weird and hard to believe.
Counterintuitive, very counterintuitive.
Yeah. If you look at relativity, it's something that people are violently refusing.
Yeah, well, not only that, but the topic is not easy for most people to read. So you have this compilation of things going on, right? So it's difficult material, hard for them to get through. I can see where they would be resistant to stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
And I think it's really difficult to admit that you've reached your level of incompetence, and that, okay, so here is something that I am not equipped to understand.
Right.
And relativity is a really difficult topic, and quantum mechanics is worse.
Right. Well, I think most people possibly can understand it, just that you would need years and years to spend figuring that out and training.
Yeah, fair enough. But it's actually, right, what I'm trying to say is that it's easier to
nobody wants to put
postulate. Yeah, it's easier to postulate, well, that actually reality is not ruled by those weird ideas that I don't understand, and that they are actually, subject to those other rules that I do understand, even if it's very easy to find facts that contradict that idea. It's just a cognitive thing that it's easier to believe that the dominant theory is wrong and that I'm the new Galileo somehow,
Right.
than to accept an idea that I don't understand.
And you said that, it kind of reminds me of people who go on American Idol and they can't really sing well, but all their friends and family are like, "You're so great, go on," and they go on, and then Simon just blasts them, and they're completely, up to that point, we're so oblivious as to how horrible they sing.
Yeah, so obviously you haven't watched American Idol in a few years.
Well, I haven't.
Simon is not on the show anymore.
Oh, no, yeah, I haven't.
Hasn't been for about 15 years.
Look, I'm not with all the stuff necessarily, all right? But that's what it reminded me of, and those poor people, they just get that blasted about it, like from Simon or whoever does the blasting now. They're probably not as mean now.
Yeah, well, I was joking. I'm not watching it.
Oh. Okay.
But yeah, there has to be a jerk on the show who is there to...
Or else why would you watch the show if somebody's not going to have some jerk yelling at them? This is what we've become.
This is what made the show successful, let's be fair. Yeah, so I think it's really sad to see that happen. So if we are successful doing this show, I hope that what we are successful at is at explaining some of those counterintuitive ideas in a way that is easy to understand.
Actually, so there's a book, I love this book. It's called Quirkology by Richard Wiseman, I think his name was. And he goes through several, just dozens of scientific studies that are counterintuitive. And some of them are absolutely freaking hysterical. You look at it, and some of them are those, you're like, why did people even pay for this research? And when he explains it out, you're like, oh, okay. That's why we paid someone to sit there and say, count, how many fish go by in an hour, or something that seems really, banal or something like that. It's those things where people just kind of throw their arms up in the air and go, what a waste of money. And it turns out that these things actually lead to some pretty fantastic ideas and accomplishments in medicine and whatnot and other technologies. Plus, there's that counterintuitive side to it. You just wouldn't have expected some of the outcomes.
Okay, so I'm going to read a random comment from the chat. Modern theory of gravity is bullshit. These people will defend it to the end, however, because their degrees are based on it.
Okay. I don't actually have a degree in gravity. There's not an actual degree in gravity.
My degree is not in gravity, but I suspect that it would be considered close enough. Yeah, well, no.
Yeah, I'm also a software developer by trade.
Well, I don't work in science anymore, so but even if I were, I would be super excited to see that new theory of gravity replacing general relativity, and there has to be one because it's not compatible with quantum mechanics. So we will have something completing or even replacing the fundamental ideas of general relativity. And I would be super excited to see that. But what I've seen so far expressed by cranks of various origins, and I think I've seen them all. No, they don't work. It's really easy to show why, but those guys won't listen. Yeah, we have degrees in YouTube. Yeah.
In the YouTube. So Big Pharma is paying you, Bertrand. I know it.
Well, it's worse than that. I'm sorry to tell you. Nobody is unfortunately paying us to do that stuff.
I know. Unfortunately, nobody's paying us for that.
Oh, scientism is a religion.
Scientism. Sure.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah, that's why I got a tax-free church going.
okay, so I wanna have the definition of a religion.
Definition of religion?
Yeah.
If only there were, say, an online dictionary or something that we can go to.
Oh, you think there is?
There might be. I
That's
think there's a
interesting.
cloud thing.
Religion. Religion is a cultural system of behaviors and practices, worldviews, ethics, and social organization that relate humanity to an order of existence. About 84% of the blah, 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 blah. Okay, so how is this
Dictionary.com
bad?
has a set of beliefs concerning the cause, nature, and purpose of the universe, especially when considered as the creation of a superhuman agency or agencies.
Okay, let's look at Merriam-Webster. The belief in a god or in a group of gods. Okay. So the god of the science religion is?
Yeah, I don't know. Must be Satan.
Oh, it's a belief. So because it's a belief, it's the same thing as religion. Never mind the methodology behind science and the confrontation with reality. That probably doesn't count, I suppose.
Why would that count?
Okay. Okay, so how about we end this?
Okay.
This has been fun.
Yes.
Maybe we'll meet again next week. Maybe not.
Spot the fallacy right in the comments pretty soon.
Yeah, let's do that next time. I'm gonna save that thread. I'm gonna extract the funniest comments from there, and we'll go over there next time.
Okay. Perfect.
Cool. Excellent. All right. So this has been fun. It's been another episode of Absolute Zero. I'm Bertrand Leroy.
Rachel Appel, and turtles all the way down.
All the way down, and elephants on top of them.
Till next week.
Till next week. Bye-bye.